Hey everybody, how you doing? Drew Griffin here with Pottstown Local, and on behalf of the TriCounty Area Chamber of Commerce, I'm extremely excited to be hanging out for another Chamber Chat Live with our host, Bill Vitiello of the Victory Bank, as well as the host of Chamber Chat podcast for the TriCounty Area Chamber of Commerce. And we've got a special guest today, Holly Parker, who is the Executive Director of the TriCounty Community Network. So without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Bill, and I'm jealous. Enjoy the rest of this conversation between Holly and Bill, and I'll catch you at the end of the interview.
You know, Drew, one of these times we're going to have you do like the full formal introduction.
Okay.
I think we're going to do it. So,
all right. Enjoy, guys.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bill Vitiello from the Victory Bank. I am the Institutional and Business Development Manager. Welcome to Chamber Chat Live here on Facebook. We hope you're having a great day today. Before we begin, we'd like to thank a few folks. First of all, we'd like to thank Drew Griffin for putting all this together from Delicious Marketing. We also like to thank Eileen. Eileen is working behind the scenes and is helping coordinate all the interviews for Chamber Chat Live and doing some of the administrative work. So thank you, Eileen. And then finally, we'd like to thank our sponsor, the Ben Exchange, your friends for business benefits. So my guest today, for the last 5 years, Holly Parker has led a successful collaborative effort to address community needs in Western Montgomery, Eastern Berks, and Northern Chester counties. And she is the Executive Director of the TriCounty Network. I was thinking about doing the rest of this, Holly, but I honestly might let you just post all about your credentials. So, gentlemen, welcome to Chamber Chat Live, Holly Parker. Holly, welcome to.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. Thank you, Bill, and of course, thank you to Eileen for inviting me to participate.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have you been doing a lot of these virtual sessions? Are you on Zoom? Are you on Microsoft Teams? Are you doing a lot of these?
Yeah, TCN has been quite active the last couple months as a result of COVID. All of our efforts are being moved to virtual space, and we use Zoom frequently. And we've been doing a lot of trainings and town hall meetings, conversations with nonprofit organizations, a lot of work with our Amazing Raise. To try to provide some extra support and training to the nonprofits that are participating. So we've been virtual and live quite frequently.
Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit. So for those folks who aren't aware of what TCN does, what do they do?
TCN is an organization that's been around for actually quite a long time. We originally started in 1993, but in 2006, we became the organization that we are today, which is TriCounty Community Network. We're the result of a merger of two different organizations that were doing some similar work in the community. So our work is actually kind of interesting because we don't provide direct service. So most nonprofits that provide for example, food insecurity, or might provide youth programming or family services. TCN actually, our clients are the nonprofit organizations in the community. So we are also a nonprofit, and we provide support services to local nonprofits and community organizations. So we do a lot of training. We support them with some fundraising initiatives. We do a lot of advocacy work around different nonprofit issues in the community, and a lot of convening around different community issues. And that leads kind of to the second piece of TCN, which is the collaborative piece. So you mentioned in your introduction that I lead a collaborative. TCN is one of 3 different collaboratives in the area. So there's one in Norristown that's specific, geographic location. And then there is also one in Bucksmont, which is Upper Montgomery County and Lower Bucks County. So basically the services that TCN provides are obviously the nonprofit supports, but we also pull together different collaborative initiatives that impact the community. So if there's a community issue that can't really be solved by one organization alone, TCN will bring in everywhere from businesses to government agencies to nonprofits to spearhead a collaboration. So we have several different initiatives that we've kind of been the umbrella for and have led throughout the course of the last couple of years. So we do kind of, our business is the business of nonprofit work. And we try really hard to encourage organizations to work together because there's a lot of duplication of services among nonprofit work. So we try to, through the collaborations that we lead and that we convene, we try to engage the stakeholders to work together so that we can lessen a little bit of that duplication.
Yeah, no, that's a great description. And again, I've known you for some time now, so I'm familiar, about you and what the organization does. Guide me through, I guess, a little bit. So look, this situation has affected everybody differently, right?
Right.
So how are nonprofits getting through a time like this, and what kind of guidance are you providing them?
Well, I've been impressed with the way that most of the organizations that we work with have been able to pivot their services to be virtual. A lot of our organizations are hands-on. I mean, when you think about nonprofit work, you think about people working with people. And, that's been a challenge in the environment that we're in right now. But I've been impressed that most of our organizations that we work with, and we work with about 90 different nonprofits in the area, have really been able to pivot their services and provide for their clients and their consumers through some type of virtual format. So I am, sort of impressed and heartened that we've got to that place, and organizations are very cognizant of what they need to do as things reopen. In fact, TCN is going to do a workshop in mid-June. We haven't nailed down the date yet, but to bring in a panel of experts to talk to our nonprofits about safely transitioning back to that face-to-face conversation with their clients and also keeping their employees safe. The one interesting thing about COVID, and it's obviously been a challenge for everybody. And even though nonprofits have been able to still do a lot of great work, it's still been a challenge for them. But I think it's brought to light a lot of the sustainability issues that nonprofits face, and has kind of, I guess, forced the nonprofit sector to really look at issues of sustainability and issues of longevity and issues of cash flow and things that you don't necessarily, and you think about it when you do your strategic plan or your budget every year, but you don't necessarily think about it as something that you need to tackle today. It's more of that, back end action item that, well, one day we'll talk about, an endowment, or one day we'll talk about, doing things that are enabling us to be more sustainable. But that someday is now, because what's happening is much like, other businesses. I mean, nonprofit is a business. It's a tax designation, essentially. So I often remind, people that I'm speaking to about nonprofit work that nonprofit is business, and it does run like business. So, there is sustainability, there is profit and loss, there are things that are happening that are very much like the small business down the street. So sustainability, most nonprofits have ramped up to be able to provide services in this climate. But what's going to happen maybe 6 months from now is going to be tough. It's going to be a tough recovery. I mean, it's a tough recovery for everybody. It's a tough recovery for businesses, but nonprofits are also going to have a difficult recovery, because they're going to be in situations where they might have had to furlough staff, or they're going to have to change the way that they deliver services even when things are reopened. They're going to have to address some of their budgetary issues, and quite honestly, funding is difficult. It's always been difficult for nonprofit organizations, which is why probably most of the businesses that are watching this chat, we call you all frequently and say, hey, can you sponsor this, or can you help with that? So fundraising is a difficult space anyway, but it's more challenging now because a lot of organizations are having difficulty finding funding outside the COVID sphere. So if they're not providing direct COVID sustainability services like maybe food or housing, if they're an arts organization or other organizations, even like TCN, that aren't providing necessarily direct service to, sustain life among people right now. Fundraising is kind of challenging because a lot of foundations are directing funds more toward those types of organizations. Mm-hmm. So for us, we've been preparing to help nonprofits through that process once things start to reopen. Providing guidance. I mean, TCN does allow organizations to come shelter under our organization. So we are a fiscal intermediary and a fiscal sponsor for organizations that don't have a 501c3, but also organizations that are interested maybe in exploring mergers or other ways to, kind of boost their sustainability, even if it's in the short term. That's one of the things that we can do. We can, provide them with that access, provide them with some administrative services, and some other things that can kind of help them to get back to recovery.
Well, you really don't need me as a host.
Well, Bill, I talk a lot, so
you do, and I was gonna, and I love every bit of it, and I was gonna let our audience know that again, you and I have known each other for some time, so so it's one of those things. You're very knowledgeable with what you do, but you're also very passionate, and I think that again, that leads to that continued conversation. So, so I think the group is extremely thankful for that. Eileen or Drew has your website up right now, so it has a little bit of a preview of what they can expect when they visit. But it was interesting that you mentioned about the plan because as a banker, we see a lot of folks who did take advantage of the SBA PPP funding, which is what it was intended for. But we're coming to find out that a lot of those folks do not have that financial emergency contingency. I don't think a business or organization really should be any different than your own personal finances. Your own personal finances, we always encourage, and hopefully most folks do have some sort of a savings fund. But this just maybe accelerates that process for folks. You made a really, really good point there that needs to be addressed, and the time is now to do that because again, this is how. We all say it's the new normal, but this is one of the things that we learn from a situation like this, where we can then put something into place and better ourselves and better our organization or better our nonprofit, right?
Right, exactly. And, we kind of, I think as a business owner or, folks that are leading a corporation or a company, you think about these things and, but they're always kind of this strategic part of what you do. And it may not always enter the day-to-day. So this situation has really forced it, especially for nonprofit organizations, to enter the day-to-day because a lot of the foundations that provide funding support are also focused on sustainability. It's a question on every grant application that I've ever filled out in my 20-some years of nonprofit work. And it will continue to be a question, but funders are going to really look for answers. They're really going to scrutinize that part of the application now because they don't want to give money to an organization that doesn't have a plan or that is not going to be able to deliver the services that they're funding in 6 months or 12 months from now.
Yeah, so there's a lot of nonprofit organizations out there. So if you are one or of somebody who wants to start one or maybe just started one and COVID affected them for whatever reason, please reach out to Holly and her team over there. They're very knowledgeable, tons of resources. I mean, looking on your website, there's classes and just all kinds of connections that you can offer to really better one's nonprofit, essentially. So what else would you like to chat about while we have some time today? I know your annual event, the Amazing Raise, like the last few years have been very, very successful for you. Can you tell me about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Thank you. Amazing Raise is amazing, pun intended. It's interesting because the genesis of Amazing Raise came about in 2016, where we as an organization, obviously a piece of what we do, as I mentioned before, is supporting nonprofits on a larger scale. And a lot of that, again, a lot of this conversation has been about fundraising, and a lot of that kind of dovetails into that fundraising support that we provide. So we kind of did a little bit of a brainstorming session and said, what can we do on a larger scale that can provide impact fundraising wise in the community for our nonprofits and also drive philanthropy in our community, because there are a lot of people doing a lot of really good work, but some of the efforts are a little bit fragmented. So how can we kind of highlight the work that nonprofits are doing, and also help them to raise money and raise the profile of philanthropy in the community? So we kicked around a couple ideas, a large gala where we would split proceeds, and we kind of said, let's go big or go home and we'll see what happens. And we decided to have a giving campaign. We looked at what the United Way does with their campaigns. We looked at what various foundations in Pennsylvania do with their campaigns, and we decided to model a campaign after what is done out of the Lancaster County Community Foundation. They have something called the Big Extraordinary Give. So if any of the Chamber listeners are part of companies or organizations that touch the Lancaster area, you've probably heard about Big Extraordinary Give. But we sat down with the folks at Lancaster and said, hey, we want to do something similar to what you guys do in our community. What do you think? And they were surprised because we're not a foundation. So most of this work is actually done by foundations because of the amount of dollars involved that they're committing to or raising for an event like this. And so we said, that's okay. We got this. So came up with the name Amazing Raise after I thought initially it was going to be Raise the Roof. And then I looked that up on Google and found that there were 20,000 Raise the Roof. So I said, we can't do that. So Amazing Raise was born. And basically what it is it's a platform for giving among all of the nonprofits that want to participate in our service area. So our service area, like you said, is Western Montgomery County. So we do touch all the way out to King of Prussia and out to the Boyertown area, as well as, obviously Pottstown and all of those areas in between, Northern Chester and Eastern Berks County. And we got all the nonprofits together and said, hey, we're going to give you a platform to raise money, but we're going to sweeten the pot a little bit and provide you with a bonus gift. So TCN is going to raise money outside of all of this fundraising that's happening for the individual organizations, and we're going to split it among all of you. So the first year, the Amazing Raise raised about $104,000, and we budgeted for it to raise $25,000. So we had really no idea what we were getting into or how this was going to roll. But after that year, we quickly realized how philanthropic our community truly is. And we were very impressed that we had, I believe, around 300 donors that first year that were giving to all sorts of nonprofits, and then also giving some funds to the bonus gift that we were able to give out to give to the nonprofits in addition to the money that they raised. So year two, it was $334,000 that was raised. And again, part of that went to the bonus gift to the nonprofits, and the rest of that was money that they raised. And we're pass through. So TCM does not take any funds. Other organizations that do this, might take percentages off the top for administration. TCN doesn't. We seek sponsorships and other fundraising mechanisms to pay for this so that we don't take any money from the nonprofits. If it comes in for a nonprofit, it goes right back out to them. And then obviously we give them additional money on top of that. So that was the second year was the $334,000, I believe. Last year, we raised over $500,000. So $500,000. Like it sounded so nice saying that. I just was walking around for like the next month saying we raised $500,000 for our community, and we had 60 nonprofits participate in Amazing Raise. So their fundraising kind of ranged from around $1,000 all the way up to $25,000 that they raised through Amazing Raise. So basically the way that it works is we coach the nonprofits that are participating throughout the year to reach out to their donors, to reach out to new donors, to tell them, hey, this is kind of like a Giving Tuesday. We want you to give during the month of October. So Amazing Raise month is October. Our designated Amazing Raise Day, which is the end of the campaign, is October 30th. So that's kind of the big splash day. That's the day where we encourage people to go online to AmazingRaiseTriCounty.org. See that? Yep. Good job, Drew or Eileen. And give on that day, although people can make pledges at any time. It's just the funding won't come out of their bank account until October 30th. So they have to kind of remember that they've done that. But that's a great site if you want to check out what nonprofits are participating. They all have profiles on there. So we allow them to raise money from October 1st to the 30th, whether it's through an event or online or through an annual appeal. And they basically then tell us how much they raised so that we can calculate what their bonus gift looks like. And then obviously the 30th is the big splash day where we're asking people to go on and donate online that day. And then we calculate all of the totals and allow the funds to then go right back to the organizations that participate. So it's a lot of fun. This year, we set the bar quite high with the $500,000 last year. So we're hoping to at least meet or exceed that. It may be a bit of a challenge given what's happening in, this COVID crisis. But honestly, if we really could make Amazing Raise amazing this year, it could really help a lot of the nonprofits in that recovery effort, because October is when we're sort of going to be kind of transitioning probably out of a lot of what's happening now. And it's going to be the time where a lot of the rubber meets the road for the nonprofit organizations to say, can we continue our programming? Are we sustainable? Can we move forward into a new budget cycle, into a new fiscal year? So it's a really good timing essentially for the Amazing Raise to be that boost that the nonprofits can use to help them move towards sustainability.
Yeah, and you mentioned something very early on in your comment about the Amazing Raise was the fact that, some organizations have those big galas or it's a big money or, whatever that looks like. Well, I think everybody's money is a little bit better directed if just making a direct donation, because you have to take the time to plan the gala, which is taking time away from you to seek additional resources for the nonprofits and so on and so forth. Like, it just affects everything down the line. As great as, if you're a donor, as great as the experience may be, you're actually being better served by making just a direct donation to the organization. So
absolutely.
So as we finish up here, have a few moments and we want to bring Drew back on. Do you have any last comments? Anything else you'd like to share at all?
No, I'd love for, as you mentioned before, any nonprofits that might be listening or community organizations that want more information about how we can support you, please contact us. And businesses who are interested in Amazing Raise. We really are looking for businesses to have campaigns, if they're able, at their own places of work. So that's dress down days or bake sales, or there's a lot of different ways you can do it. We actually can facilitate payroll deduction for organizations like Pottstown Hospital does payroll deduction for their employees for Amazing Raise. So there's a lot of different ways that businesses and people that are working in the community can get involved in Amazing Raise. So we would love you to contact us and we'll be happy to kind of talk you through a plan that might work for you if you'd like to get involved.
So Holly, we'll put your contact information in the Chamber chat live, but for those who want to jot it down real quick, what is your email address?
It is hparker@tcnetwork.org.
Wow, that's easy enough.
Yeah.
It's easy enough.
Let the spam commence, right?
Right.
Okay. Spam away.
Hopefully with $50 bills and $100 bills and more.
Yes. Hey.
That's awesome.
$5 bills are okay too.
Right.
So Holly, thanks for taking the time to be on today. It was great to see you. Please continue to stay safe, and I can't wait till we can have coffee over at Java's Brewing again.
Yes. I miss all of those things, but
I know,
it'll
right?
be that much better when we come back.
Yeah. So before we wrap up and I throw it back to Drew here, I just want to thank him again for putting all this together for the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce. This has been Chamber Chat Live. Also want to thank Eileen, who is running the board. There you go. I like that. I'm going to use that for the future. Eileen's running the board back at the Facebook studios. And for the Ben Exchange, your friends for business benefits. So Drew, thanks again, and I'll turn it over to you, sir.
No, yeah, this has been an amazing episode. I learned a ton about your organization, and we're super grateful for you hanging out with us here on the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce Chamber Chat, as well as on Pottstown Local, and probably another half dozen or so other pages that we've shared out to. Listen, we are super excited. You are always welcome back, Holly. We really appreciate it. So please keep us in the loop about how things are going. And you're always welcome back as a guest of the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce, as well as here on Pottstown Local. That's going to wrap up today's episode. Listen, we've got another amazing episode coming up this Wednesday. It's going to be held at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I believe, this week, as I have another engagement at 2:00, unfortunately. But we're super grateful for everybody's attention today. Please do us a favor. Go ahead and share this out with your networks. Wherever you may hang out on the interwebs, please share this with your contacts, anybody that supports the Tri-County Community Network, as well as the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce. We do greatly appreciate any shares, likes, all kinds of comments are always welcome. If you need to find out more information, please get in touch with Holly, or if you have any questions that we can direct towards her, feel free to reach out to the Tri-County Area Chamber of Commerce. Until then, enjoy the rest of the day. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Thank you, guys. Take good care.
See you guys. You too.
Bye-bye.